Hey, welcome to the Sharpe Way Show. It is 7 p.m. on the East Coast. Yes, I'm here. It is Monday, which means Monday, Ask Me Anything. Yes, absolutely. I'm so happy to have you here this evening, having a quick chat with me about a couple things that I think are kind of important. I think we're going to see how we can grow from what's happening here in 2021, from what happened in 2020 and is still happening in 2021. As always, please like, comment, share. I'm always asking you to do that. Please share this with everyone you think you should or could. Please like this, click that like button and get those algorithms going. And comment. Tell me whatever you think about me or how cool or how uncool I am. I don't mind. I'm wearing a cool Cult of Us hoodie today. Cult of Us, in case you remember the people who have actually come on. Oh, Cult of Us. There we go. Did I do it well? I hope I did. So, also, of course, support the show. Patreon.com/SharpeWay. Whatever you can give. That's amazing. If you want to help out my sponsors, theadvocates.org, click on the link here in the description. Take the human respect test, share it with others, and you will see how you can start having those conversations about respect. Now, I kind of want to bring up, I'm doing a little bit of history, if I could. A little bit of history. I think you may be interested in this. Give or take 200 years ago, 200 years ago, Napoleon in Europe took a massive army and took it into Russia. And he was going to conquer Russia and conquer Europe and take care of it all. Brought, depending on who you talk to, over 500,000 soldiers into Russia from all across Europe, going to finish off the Tsar, and France was going to rule all of Europe. Well, that failed miserably. And as he came back, he literally came back with less than 50,000 men, depending upon, again, different people will tell you how much, but it was less than 50,000 men. So about 90% casualties. Horrible, horrible numbers. Terrible for him, the French army, and everything else. But he fought again. A couple years later, he was fighting again. How could he have survived and fought again? Well, because sadly, in this case, it wasn't that hard to recruit a bunch of people who wanted to go off and fight in wars. So he could recruit and conscript and draft soldiers. But there was a big problem that he had. As he used his best troops to fight in Russia, when he came back, he was lacking cavalry. Cavalry, for those who don't know, is people who fight on horseback. And in the 1800s, 200 years ago, that was still a thing. Clearly now it's not. But that was a big thing, in fact. Cavalry was still a big thing in early 1800s warfare. Well, why in the world didn't he have cavalry? Why? You can get all these men and all these guys to give them uniform, teach them how to shoot. Yeah. Horses. When he was in Russia, fighting that battle, or trying to fight those battles, and fighting several battles, as he came back out of Russia in the winter, starving, his men ate all the horses. Literally, they ate the horses froze to death, they ate them. He came back on foot. No horses. Well, you might say, well, just, get horses off the farm. You could, but there's a problem with that. Not every horse can be in cavalry, right? Some of you don't know that. But I'll give you a little history. You might enjoy this. There's a difference between someone who is a light horseman or a hobbler versus a cavalryman. If you are a light horseman or hobbler, you use the horses to travel, you get off and you fight on foot. The horses aren't trained to be in combat. They're too skittish. So they'll bring you to the combat, but you have to go fight. The horses hear bombs and guns and stuff, and they take off and run. But not cavalry horses. They're trained specifically to deal with the explosions and bombs of combat. Those horses can actually fight in combat. They can actually do that. Swords and spears and all those things. They can actually fight in combat. They're not just transport. They in themselves can fight. It takes years and years and years to create horses, to raise horses that can be cavalry horses. Big deal. He didn't have them. So he couldn't rebuild his army. And of course, never won the battle again. Couldn't rebuild the army because he didn't have one of the most important pieces to an army back then, which was cavalry, horses who could fight in battle. Why do you care about that? I'm going to go forward a little bit, about 150 years forward. Japan. In Japan, end of World War II. Japanese fighting big battles with us. Midway, the Coral Sea, all these issues. airplanes fighting each other, dog fights over the sea, all these things. You probably heard of the famous or infamous Japanese kamikaze, which is actually should be pronounced kamikaze, which actually means divine wind. Kami is like a god or something divine. Kaze is a wind, means divine wind. And they call these kamikaze pilots the divine wind. This is going to be magic, right? Because for those who don't know, prior to that, about 7 years before that, the Mongols invaded Japan, and storms came by and trashed the Mongol navy, so they were never able to invade Japan. They call that divine wind, God's wind, and they said these guys now are going to become divine wind. We might say, well, why didn't they do that before? Why didn't the Japanese use these kamikaze pilots in 1941, 42? Why only late 44 and 45? Well, same problem. They could build planes. They built tons of planes. What couldn't they get? Skilled pilots. They had lost them in Midway, in Coral Sea, in China. Japanese had lost these pilots. So they couldn't do a good job of rebuilding their Navy or their Air Force. So they literally just threw people into these planes they built, stuffed them up full of bombs, and literally just dropped them on the planes. And it made the planes drop them onto ships, and the planes themselves were suicide bombers into ships, sinking ships. They didn't have the pilots. Why do I bring this up? Because we're having the same problem here in America now. COVID is destroying our most important pieces, our skilled pilots or our important cavalry horses that we can rebuild our economy. And that critical piece is the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is being destroyed right now. And when I say destroyed, I mean destroyed. I don't mean pushed aside. I don't mean hurt. I mean destroyed. How are we going to rebuild an economy, which we're supposed to be rebuilding this year? That's what Biden tells us, everybody tells us, right? How are we going to rebuild them if we don't have the most important part to that economy? Well, Larry, are entrepreneurs most important part? What about government? What about big business? No. Demonstrable fact. The way you rebuild an economy is through entrepreneurial spirit, is through the entrepreneur, the small business owner. Most of all new jobs, this has been true for literally decades, have come from small businesses, and we are destroying them. As of Q3, October 1 last year, third quarter last year, over 100,000 small businesses, United States, out of business, over. And that was, again, 4 months ago now, so I don't know what the numbers are now. And 60% of those will never come back. Never. Do you know how hard it is for someone who's had a business to lose it, maybe declare bankruptcy, to come back from that? Do you know how hard that is? First off, it's years before you can come back, if you can come back. But maybe you don't. You've been burned so much you don't even try again. If you try again, now you're scared. These are the people who are going to be starting the jobs. These are the people who are going to be rebuilding our economy, and we're purposefully destroying them. And what brought this to my attention was a story here in Astoria, Queens. There was a guy who has a hookah lounge. So you know what a hookah lounge is? It's when they smoke the pipes, and you guys know what hookah lounge is. Anyway, hookah lounge here in Astoria, Queens. Guy's desperate. Burns to the ground. Clearly trying to get either just angry or trying to get insurance, whatever the case may be. Of course he gets caught. Why does he get caught? He's not a professional thief. He doesn't know how to do this right. Of course he doesn't, because that's not what he is. He's a guy who runs a hookah bar. That's who he is. But he's desperate because he hasn't been able to have people, in his place for now almost a year. He can't make any money. He's probably still, sitting here having to pay debt. So he burns the thing to the ground, or tries to. Didn't. He was unsuccessful. Clearly not a criminal, so he's a bad criminal. Clearly he was a decent hookah lounge owner, but he's a bad criminal. So he tried doing it, got caught. They arrested him, of course. He's going to spend somewhere between 5 and 20 years in prison. They're going to convict him, guaranteed. So he'll be convicted. He'll go somewhere between 5 and 20 years in prison, and he's now a convicted felon. You might say, well, Larry, that guy's stupid. I'm glad he's gone. Maybe that guy's a bad guy. I just don't know the guy personally, so maybe he's a bad guy. I don't know. And maybe he's just another cavalry horse that we needed to rebuild our army. And maybe he's another trained pilot that we needed to rebuild our Air Force. Maybe he was just another entrepreneur that we could have used to start more jobs to get people back in action. And for every one that I see here, there's probably 50 I don't even know about. I'm just one state, one city. Who knows how many people are trying now to do illegal things? You see the black market exploding everywhere. I've always said the war on drugs was also a war on brown and black entrepreneurism. And now the war on COVID is also a war. Except, of course, now it's also on white, black, brown, whatever. Insert American entrepreneurism. Small business. It is crushing them to where they feel like there's no hope. They feel like there's no chance. They don't want to try it again. And now they're scared to even give it a shot. The more we keep this going, the worse they feel. How are we going to rebuild this economy? Through government jobs only? Already about 1 in 7, 1 in 8 Americans works for the government. If you go indirectly through government contracts, probably about 1 in 6. How big is this going to go? 1 in 5? This is literally communist numbers. This is socialist numbers if we go that high. Are we going to go that high to a 1 in 4, 1 in 5 Americans works for the government? Is that where we're going? I mean, maybe. I'm trying to find another answer. Or are we now going to have everybody work for big business, which I thought we hate now? I thought we're mad at big tech and big business and Walmart and Amazon. But we're giving people no options except to work for government or Amazon or Walmart. Or insert large franchise. And that's the only options? To be clear, I'm not against government workers. I'm not against big business workers. They have a very important part in our overall economy. And we should have workers of all types, of course. I'm just not anti-small business. Can't we have all of it? Am I that greedy that we can't have people in every part of the economy working? Small, big, medium, government, everything? How are we going to grow this? Easy to grow government jobs, print magic money, make and announce stuff. You now have magic government jobs. Do it all the time. Oh, we need more people? Print magic money, give a decree. Now it's a law. Boom, you've got government jobs. Great. But at what percentage are you taking people out of the private economy and shoving them all into the government world? 1 in 5? Is that where we're going? 1 in 4? This is a huge problem that people aren't talking about. And it bothered me tremendously when I saw this story. I thought, there's no way that guy was like, I'm a criminal. I'm going to burn down my place. No, he was like, I'm desperate. I don't know what to do. Please be very forward. I'm not in any way, shape, or form condoning his behavior. I'm not. I'm saying what I always say. Predictable, preventable. And there's going to be more, and we're doing nothing about it. We're just going to watch it happen. And the first thing you see, and I read the article, we're going to get this guy and justice, and thanks for law enforcement putting this together, putting this guy behind bars. That was the entire thing. Look how bad it is. And the people who were commenting on this weren't saying, oh, poor guy, look how desperate this guy had to be to burn his own place down. Look how, no, they were like, that guy's a dummy, good for him, put him away. Yeah, put him away because right now you're at home getting your Trump bucks, so you're okay. Or you have a government job, you're fine. But what happens when the Trump bucks go away? Or the tax dollars go away? And you can't have your job, and you wish you had a small business owner to give you or someone you love a job. Not so cool anymore. It's a big problem. And I feel like I'm the only guy talking about it. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's others, but I feel like it's just me. Let me grab some comments and questions, guys. I appreciate all the stuff that you guys keep doing it. Hold on. Let's see if I can keep going. All right. Thank you for the what's up. I appreciate it. Yes. Impeachment right now. Do they need to rub salt in the wounds? You know, I got to tell you, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm less concerned about Trump and actually more concerned with the people who rioted in the Capitol, to be forward with you, right? Trump, the odds of Trump being convicted, I think, are slim. He might. And even if he is convicted, he personally is still going to be fine. He may not be run for office again, but personally, he'll be fine. He'll go back, he'll build a golf course or whatever his thing is. He's not starving. He'll be fine regardless of the outcome. I'm not saying it's the right answer. I'm saying I'm less concerned about him. To my point I just made about the entrepreneurs, I'm more worried about the average person who went to the Capitol and are going to start putting these people away by the hundreds, maybe even by the thousands. Far more concerned about them. Because if Trump gets convicted or not, that will eventually go away. People will say, well, that was dumb or whatever, it's done. That will happen eventually. But for the individuals who are going to have to spend 5-10 years in prison, their lives are over, their loved ones are over, and they're never going to forget, and they're not going to be okay. Those people convicted of felonies are not going to be okay. Trump's going to be fine either way. Whatever happens. I mean, again, I don't think he's going to be convicted, but I'm not as concerned, to be fair with you. I think I'm ignoring it because I don't actually care. I don't care if he gets convicted or not. It's not going to change my life or your life in any way, shape, or form. Biden's still the president, whether Trump gets convicted or not. I actually don't care. Whatever happens, happens. So I'm far more concerned about the individuals and their lives being ruined. Trump will be fine. Whatever happens, he'll be fine. So, Jimmy, took the advocate.org human respect test. Yes, by the way, it is in the description. Turns out I'm a libertarian anarchist. You crazy man, Jimmy. I knew you were. Absolutely. Thank you. So let's see. Everyone who ever attacked Moscow in the winter failed miserably. Yes, there's an old saying about Russia. The two greatest Russian generals are General January and General February. The two greatest Russian generals. Absolutely. So yeah, the only people who ever were actually able to conquer Russia were basically the Mongols. That's about it, right? The Mongols were able to. The Germans in World War I were able to beat the Russians, but because they collapsed underneath their own revolution, not because the Germans were able to invade Moscow, because the Russians collapsed on their own. Mongols, but there really wasn't a Russian state yet. So I guess Russia gets a pass on that one too. Valid point. I don't know why people want to invade Russia. Let's not invade Russia at all now. I would like to not invade Russia at all, but I get it. Yes. How can we compete as small business when the government keeps binding us? Yes, I'm a small business owner and it's tough. Yes, Alex, I could agree completely, as am I. I had to change my entire business model in March because His Majesty King Andrew Cuomo II, oh, Hail the King, deemed me non-essential. So I had to change my business model completely. Absolutely. And I'm still working on it right now. So I agree completely. Yes. Napoleon, Waterloo. Yes. And he lost Waterloo. Correct, Jonathan. Yes. He fought Waterloo and lost Waterloo. He was unable to win a battle after that Russia thing. So yes, that Napoleon, that Waterloo. Of course, Pete, thank you so much. $27 trillion national debt. Cavalry was still being used in World War I. Yes, but very poorly. As a general rule, cavalry was used in the early parts of the war, 1914, in the Western Front. After that, it was almost never used in the Western Front. There was a little bit of horses being used for some recon, but very little. In the Eastern Front, cavalry was used more as much more a war of maneuver and not a war of attrition. So cavalry was being used in World War I, but nowhere near as much. They actually used a whole lot more light horsemen or hobblers, which means horses used to do things like tow artillery, move units around, that kind of thing. If they didn't have enough gas and such for trucks, obviously trucks are being used in World War I, but nowhere near as much as mechanized units were in World War II. So yes, true. But again, we're talking World War I, 1914. I'm talking, in this case, Napoleonic, 1814. We're talking a 100-year difference. So thank you. Yes, Jonathan, thank you. Biden doesn't have enough issues to deal with. He wants to change the $20 bill. Oh, is that right? Look, all these little things, I bring this up all the time. As businesses collapse, as people become scared and worried, as suicide rates go up and down, not down, sorry, only up, we spend a whole lot of time having to deal with culture wars. That doesn't matter to me, right? If you want to change the $20 bill, great. But that should not be a priority, right? That should be like number 5,000 on your list of priorities. I'm fine. Change it. I don't care who's on a $20 bill. It's a culture war thing. It doesn't bother me. You want to put Harriet Tubman on it? I'll still spend it. Jackson, I'll still spend it, right? It's all good. You can put Pete Clark on it. I will still spend it. And it'd be him yelling 27 trillion. Put his finger out like that. Do that. I'll still spend it. So I'm fine either way. But I get your point totally, Walter. We're fighting culture wars that don't matter, right? Just don't matter. Sorry, they matter. I'm wrong. I apologize. I'm incorrect. They do matter. Just nowhere near as much as literally people losing everything they own and they've worked for and their lives. So yes, horrible moment in the history of the planet. David, I'm agreeing with you because what I'm seeing as the answer for everything is just more government. I'm not seeing, even the Republicans are supposed to be about small government. Their answers are basically do nothing. That's not an answer, right? The American people don't want to hear do nothing. They want to hear actual policies, actual ideas. And if the Republicans don't have any, they will accept whatever the Democrats give them. And that's what's happening right now, right? Libertarians have actual answers. I've been doing it for a lot of time. People just aren't paying attention. So yes. Today I had to correct a person espousing the Robin Hood theory. I explained it was a myth. Robin Hood robbed from the legitimate, at the time, government that was overtasking his subjects, not just the rich. I'm not sure where you're going with that, Brian. Not sure where you're going with that. Help me in another one if you would. I don't know where you're going with that one. Horse has to have the nerves to steel. Yes, absolutely. If horse is going to be, yes, absolutely, yes. The Polish cavalry went up against the Nazi tanks and was slaughtered and burned in a ditch. That's not 100% true, Jonathan. Actually, what happened is the Polish units were not very mechanized at all in 1939. And when the German army came across, when the Wehrmacht came across, it was heavily mechanized. Most of the stuff they had taken actually from the Czechs when they had attacked Czechoslovakia at the time and annexed the Sudetenland. They took much of the armored units from there, the armored cars. They also had German Panzerkampfwagens 1 and 2. They had a bunch of those. And those tanks flooded throughout Poland. And the problem is they were actually surrounded. So the Polish had two choices: surrender, because they were surrounded, or try to break out. The cavalry charge that is shown often in TV or on books and such, the pictures of it, the Polish cavalry charge was not an attack upon tanks. It was a desperate breakout to avoid surrender. Still, you're right. It was horrible. I mean, it was a slaughter. The German tanks destroyed them without question. But this was brave Poles trying to not surrender, and it was a desperate attempt to break out so they could escape being encircled by German armored units. So just a little bit of a nuance in what you were saying. So, Lauren, I always enjoy your history. I just gave you a history lesson, Lauren. See, another one. I just gave you another one about the Poles trying to break out from German encirclement. Yes. Too bad I know too many silly things. Absolutely, yes. So, all right. So I hope that was something that's interesting. So a horse will naturally tend to veer off to the side. That's why a group of men with pikes in a triangle could defeat cavalry. I'm sure that's what William Wallace used to defeat the British. Yes, there are defenses against cavalry that, of course, we use, which is why anyone who's savvy and watches these TV shows knows you never send cavalry out without infantry support, which is what this is. I'm going to geek out for a couple of seconds, you guys. The last season of Game of Thrones was so bad on so many levels. The one piece that drove me crazy off the bat is in the last battle when they're going to fight the zombies, right? The undead. They send off their cavalry to fight them in the dark with no infantry support, and hardly any come back. Yeah, you don't do that. You can't send cavalry in without infantry support to deal with the pikemen. Yes, exactly correct. Thank you. You have to have infantry support with them. So, all right. Do you think there's any way to combine actual socialism, ownership by workers, with capitalism? Yes, there absolutely is. I'll cover that in a second. Let me finish it, then I will totally carry that. To deal with that. Executives are often paid both a salary and very friendly stock options. True, particularly if it's a public company. Yes, they are often given the option to buy at a price already in the money. Yes, and that's usually when they usually do this upfront when the company either goes public or when they come on board. Why not look at doing that with workers? Get paid your wage and an option to buy stock at discounted prices. Now you have workers who will have more interest in performance of their companies besides a paycheck. Most frontline workers have to buy stock. Like, yes, I know where you're going with this, Brandon. Let me cover a couple of pieces. One, yes, but there are cultural issues that stop this. Cultural issues that stop this. In the past, when workers have owned companies, the companies have failed miserably. And so that legacy is still sitting there in the mindset of the average financier and banker. So they're sitting there going, it doesn't work. Workers don't care. That's where their head is. Their worry is that a democratized business will create bad answers, and that the rabble, I'm saying this is their mindset, that the rabble will create bad decisions, bad answers. They will have control. And then why bother having a CEO who has all the control and the power and the knowledge to move things forward. I'm not saying this is true, Brendan. I hope I'm being clear here. I'm saying that is what the current finance market sees. If you ask the average guy or gal who's in finance and you say, what about worker-owned businesses? They go, that never works. So the first thing to make that happen is some successful ones. There is a cultural change that has to happen in the finance world, in the world, not even just America. This is a common thought process throughout all the finance capitals of the world, whether it's Singapore, London, New York, insert Frankfurt, insert financial capital. That's a common thought process. So I think the first thing is to have some successful ones. And that has to be a voluntary, right? You have to voluntarily say, hey, I'm going to give this up, allow this to happen, and then have it work. The next thing is, a lot of times when people are financing large organizations, particularly large ones, they want some form of control. So one of the reasons why the CEO gets the benefits the way they want is because the people who are financing it are often using the market as a way to make money. They borrow against their shares, they sell shares, they have futures, all types of things within the market. So stock price is critical on them getting money back. So they want the CEO to do things that makes the stock price raise, whether that actually affects customers or not always the case, not always important to them. So you have to have a different way of financiers. I think that's the biggest issue. Can it work? Absolutely. I think we have to talk about it more. The problem is when people talk about it, they talk about it as in being forced. They speak about it as in, like how Bernie says it, there shouldn't be any billionaires. You start saying that, you start scaring bankers because they all want to be billionaires. So they're not going to hear it. If you said, hey, it needs to be easier and simpler to create companies that can be owned by workers. This should be easy and normal. We should talk about it. To be fair, Brendan, I'm not against it at all. This is the whole concept of voluntary socialism. I don't have a problem with that. If you think your company will work better by giving ownership over to workers, please do it. Go ahead. If you think that's the right answer for you, please do so. The problem is we don't see that. We think Ayn Rand and, Atlas Shrugged, that's what we think of. That's still in the minds. This is a cultural shift that has to happen. And as I talk about often, the right's rhetoric being harsh and people not understanding the rhetoric, sounding bad. In the case of this, the left's rhetoric is terrible. The left's rhetoric sounds like we're chopping the heads off of the executives and they're going to have no power. And that scares people who have money and want to invest in large businesses. So to answer, yes, it can happen. There needs to be a cultural change first, which means you have to have a change in rhetoric to make people understand it's voluntary. You don't have to. If you don't want your company to be owned by workers, no worries. But if we see it begin to work better, then I think what will happen is you'll have a much better company in general, unless unions get involved and they keep their old way of thinking. This is the other issue. It isn't just financiers, it's also unions. Right? In the case of other companies, like I think Japan does this way. Japan has a union that is not based upon the industry. It's based upon the company. So only the company has a union. So if the company fails, union fails. So it's directly related. If we shifted our unions into that world, or we need a union because everybody was an owner, in which case, so you wouldn't need a union in theory at least, right? Because you'd all be owners. Then that would change too. But if unions get involved, they go, no, I don't want worker-owned stuff because then there's no need for us. So then you have the union will also fight this also. So you have a union fighting and then financiers fighting. So your ideas are not bad ideas at all. I'm actually totally for it. If you want to do it, please. We should talk about that more. The idea of creating ownership mindset in the average worker in America is a wonderful idea. Love the idea. The rhetoric is bad from the left on this, and the environment, the culture is totally against it. I hope I answered your question at least. No, maybe it wasn't the best answer. So yes. All right. See if I can keep going here. Larry, can you explain the 80-20 rule? People go into a panic when disagreeing with libertarian or 1 or 2 points. Scared screaming chicken sound. Yes, I bring this up always, right? I bring this up all the time. You're not going to agree, in reality, with every single piece of what someone stands for. You're not going to agree with me. I hope you guys agree with me most of the time. I hope you do. But even if you don't, I still want you watching and listening. But I talk about the 80-20 rule. And this goes from both business, personal, politics, whatever the case may be. When it comes to business, The 80-20 rule basically says 80% of your income will come from 20% of your customers. 80% of your problems will come from 20% of your customers. So focus on the right 20% to get the right 80%. Focus on the right things to make that happen, right? You're not everything's going to be great. You're going to have customers who aren't good. You're going to have products that aren't great, all those things, right? That's the concept. Now, that's been moved into politics. I'm pretty sure it was Reagan who said it. Reagan said, if someone agrees with you 80% of the time, they're not your enemy. They're your ally. They're your ally, right? Doesn't mean they're the same party or the same as you, but they're still an ally. We can connect on 80%, and we're going to be like, no way on 20%. And I try to do that here, right? I try to do that here. I try to show you that I know some of you are going to disagree with me on things, but we can still talk. I'm sure everyone out there right now, you're listening and watching going, yeah, I like Larry, but this one thing, he's completely full of crap on that one. Okay, we can still work on other things. Let's ignore that thing, and let's work on these things over here, and let's move forward anyway. That's the 80-20 rule. I supported the last three libertarians who ran for president. I didn't agree with them on everything. Of course not. Of course not. Some of them I disagree with things completely, but I support them. I don't change my view, right? If you remember when I was trying to get Judge Jim Gray to be the nominee for the LP, Judge Jim Gray is 100% for negative income tax. That's a form of UBI, right? As I said before, it's the least bad of all the UBIs. I'm against UBI. Against it. People say, oh, Larry, now you're for UBI. No, I'm not. Why do you support Jim Gray? Because 80-20. I still support him. Do I like that? No. Well, Larry, you gave a good argument for it. Yes, I gave his argument for it because I support him. So I said, this is what he believes. This is what he wants to do. This is the right answer. Let's do this. This is what he wants. Let's get Jim Gray in. The judge is the right guy. That's what I believed at the time. I still believe it would have been the best. I still believe that. But so I said it. I said his policy. I didn't say I agree with it. I'm not a fan of UBI. I've explained why I'm not. But because I disagree with that one thing, does that now mean I wouldn't support him? No. I still supported him. I still do. I would, and I do support him 100%. I still support him. Even though on that, we disagree. And when people ask me about it, I said his policy. If I was running, that wouldn't be part of my policy. I wasn't running. We do this, we can still support somebody, even though we disagree with something. I didn't go, but that's stupid. I never said that. I shut my mouth. I think about this. If you disagree with somebody, you don't have to call them out and call them names. I know, crazy, right? You could just say nothing. That's what I did. I didn't agree with that policy. I just didn't talk about it. Didn't say anything. Kept my mouth shut. That's it. If someone asked me to support it, I told them, no, literally, I said that. No, you don't. No. Well, why are you supporting Jim Gray? Because I support him. We disagree on that. This is what he wants. I support him. This is a way that we can actually move forward. If we're waiting to only support someone that we agree 100%, we're going to be waiting a whole lot of years before that happens. By the way, the Fix for New York podcast is a cool podcast. Please look them up and watch them. It is the Fix for New York. I was on it once, so check me out there. Thank you for that, by the way. Yes. If we still have to wear a mask after we get the vaccine, what's the point? Good question. I like that. That's actually pretty good. I like that. It's funny. I'm going to need a cavalry for transportation needs with the price of gas going through. We need some horses. I'm with you, man. That's what's going to happen. Yes. The Great Mariana Turkey Shoot. Yes, for those who don't know, that was the Battle of Coral Sea. Is that right? Did I get that right? The Japanese lost so many pilots in that battle. They were never able to recover from that battle. So thank you for that, Mitchell. Nice little historical piece there. I appreciate that. They called it a turkey shoot because they were shooting so many of the Japanese planes down. Nearly destroyed entrepreneur. Yes, Lauren, I know. I'm with you. There are many of us out there. Yes, absolutely. So somebody had the bright ass idea to divest the military of the best slowing, flying support combat plane, the butt ugly. Oh, yes, the A-10 Warthog. The A-10 Warthog was, and for those you don't know, it was a tank meat grinder. This thing literally could take the enemy could fire a tank at it, fire a tank at it, and it would like bounce off or get trashed and lose one engine and still fight, and then be able to trash tanks. I mean, it was flying murder. It just destroyed tanks. It was a tank killer. And yes, the A-10 was insane. But I get why they did it, Jonathan. The problem is nobody's fighting us with tanks now. For those of you who don't know, our Abrams tank, our M1 was it A3 now? I don't remember what the A is on it. The M1 tank right now is clearly, without question, the greatest tank ever made, the most powerful tank on the planet, hands down. It's not close. In the last time we had a major tank battle, I think it was in Iraq, major tank battle, the kill rate was 40-1. Yes, we would kill 40 Iraqi tanks before we lost one of ours. You have a kill rate of 40-1. That is higher than the Germans had against the Russian tanks in World War II, which I think was like 8-1 or something like that. But yes, 40-1, the highest ever. Yeah, that's why they did it, Jonathan. I get why they did it, but anyway. So, all right, so if I keep going here. We can't rebuild an economy when politicians want to blunt the entrepreneurial spirit. Yes, absolutely. Yes, David, that's what I'm saying. Yes, 100%. Chris says 74% of all U.S. jobs, yes, come from small businesses. Absolutely, yes, 100%. Yes. So, all right. I think it would help if we allowed small businesses to get a tax perk of public corporations, such as only paying taxes on realized profit. The problem with the tax break piece in this regard often is that the amount of income that comes in the small business is so small compared to massive that I'm not sure that it is the answer or not. It might be. I mean, I'm open to the concept. I'm open to the idea of making it fair across the board. The biggest thing I would say is remove loopholes, right? Loopholes to me is the biggest one. I've worked with a lot of large businesses, and you find the famous ones are, the businesses like, the Googles of the world, or, the Amazons of the world who pay like no tax, that kind of thing, right? If you simply made it fairer to where everyone paid X and whatever that X percentage was done with a cap. I'm sorry, with the cap, with the floor, right? So as an example, the first $30,000, I made that number up completely, Brennan, but the first $30,000 is not taxable for any small business profit. After that, you're taxed. So for a very small business, they can pay no taxes. They get started, right? As they make more money, they pay some more taxes. And the larger businesses are paying tons of taxes because they're already past 30%. I mean, $30,000. But if you make a ceiling and then a flat fee or a flat price all the way up, you actually have fairer taxes. And then all of the dollars that these large companies are paying to accountants and tax lawyers, not required anymore. My view is that's a fairer way of doing it and more excited. So yes. So, all right. Paul says, no pilots, no gas. Yes. Gas problem also. And a complete failure to understand economics of war. Well, there's something else, Paul. I mean, we literally outgunned them tremendously, and we had broken their codes. We knew exactly where they were, right? Many people don't know that one of the reasons why America did so well in World War II is we literally broke all their codes. So, like, we knew where they were going. We knew what was going to happen. We were really listening to their radio messages and going, oh, you're sending this guy here, that guy here. We knew everybody was. We actually assassinated their Admiral Yamamoto, who was the architect of Pearl Harbor. We knew he was going to be in an airplane flying to a certain area, I forgot where, and we sent our fighters to shoot him down and to assassinate him because we knew where he was going. So we could kill their generals. We knew where their planes were. Even if they had gas and pilots, they would still lose that war. They had no chance of winning that thing. Absolutely. So I do think Deming, though, for those who don't know, Deming was the Deming method. For these guys who don't know, Deming was a guy who basically said to build things, you have to create an industrialized economy. Deming's method, again, you guys check it out if you want to. Deming's method actually did begin to work when it comes to an industrialized society. All of Deming's concepts fail miserably once you move into a post-industrial world or into an information age world. His methods are really created for an industrialized world when you are just about what can I produce? Collectivism, absolutely. Again, you're looking at Japan, which even today is, but then was even more of a homogenous society that was desperate to unite so that they could rebuild themselves. So if you have a culture that's homogenous, desperately unite to rebuild themselves, the Deming methods work perfectly if you're trying to industrialize your country. But once that's done, Deming's methods completely fail. So thank you for that, Paul. I appreciate that. Yes. So let's see here. When will King Andrew let us drink ale and trade our silver at local eateries? I'm not sure when. Yes. Yeah, that whole private sector Berlin airlift. I'm not sure where you're going with that, Ben. Was that to me? If it was to me, please clarify that. I'm not sure what that was to me or someone else. But the Berlin airlift, to my knowledge, was not private. I think you're joking. You're teasing. You're saying that government did the Berlin airlift. Yes, that is true. Government did the Berlin airlift, and also incompetent government created a split Berlin. Incompetent government, specifically FDR, and I'll do an FDR piece for you guys who love FDR. The reason for the Cold War to be as bad as it was, the reason for so much death and destruction was because of FDR. FDR, some of you don't know this, FDR is the one who said unconditional surrender. He was the one. That's why we had to nuke the Japanese. Oh, well, we thought we had to nuke. We didn't have to, but that's why we thought we had to nuke them. FDR said unconditional surrender. That's not what the British said. That's not what the Russians said. They had been in the war for years. They were like, we just don't want war. So make conditions. It's fine. Whatever. Let's just talk surrender. Well, now when you have unconditional surrender, what do the German people say? I'm not surrendering. It's unconditional. You might say all our men have to be executed. You might say you're going to take everything again like World War I. The Germans had just got destroyed in World War I, which made World War II. So idiot FDR goes unconditional. So now they won't talk anymore. So now we can't talk to the Nazis. Now we can't talk to them. Well, Larry, why would you talk to Nazis? Here's why. If you know the history, most of the German high command knew the war was over by 1944. Their pride said, no, we're not going to surrender. We can't. We'll be destroyed. We won't be a nation anymore. The Americans will destroy us. We won't even be a nation anymore. Unconditional surrender, they hate us. No, we fight to the death. And they fought to the death, of course. If you've ever seen the movie Fury with Brad Pitt, he's a tank commander in there, and the Germans just don't quit. And Brad Pitt literally asks one of his captains, the captain says, I wish the Germans would just surrender. And Brad Pitt looks at him and says, would you? No. You made unconditional surrender. They tried to kill Hitler 44 times, but they couldn't because they couldn't get enough people to agree, the Germans to agree to do it, and they couldn't get the Allies to agree to a deal. Imagine if, let's sake of argument, it's 44. One of the major battles, the Battle of Kursk in Russia, they know it's over at that point, right? Whatever. You pick the battle. Stalingrad ends in 43. Anytime. You decide when the Germans realized it was over. 2/3 of the German army was in Russia. So they cared about Russia more than anything else. But even when Italy was collapsing, insert time period, the German high command sends a secret message to the Allies and says, hey, it's over. Can we just surrender? Can we surrender? And the Allies, imagine they said this. If there was President Sharpe, I go, sure, 100%. Here are the key Nazis we want. Give us these whatever number, dozen, 2 dozen. I want these 2 dozen Nazis. I want these high command people. I want them in a cell, and I want you to take that cell, put it in the back of a truck, and drive that truck to the front lines. And when I have those so-and-so Nazis, when I have them, we'll talk peace. And we'll stop. We'll start negotiating. Give me those 12 Nazis, or whatever the number is, and we'll start talking. You know what would have happened? They would have captured those 12 Nazis, or whatever those are, put them on a freaking, put them in the back of a truck, and take them right through the lines. And we could have negotiated the end of this. You withdraw all forces. You shut down all the camps. You pay reparations to the Jews. You do all these things. You denazify your country. We're going to watch. The war would have ended in 44. And you might say, wait a minute, Larry. Well, so what? Think about all the people who died in the last year of the war. For nothing. For nothing. The Americans who died, no D-Day, all the Russians who died, the slaughter in Poland, all the Jews who died in the camps for the last year of the war, they don't die now. None of these people died. All the Germans who died too, all the French people who died, they don't die now. They don't die now if we don't do unconditional surrender. So yes, the Berlin airlift was absolutely the government. And the whole need for Berlin airlift was also because of the government. That shouldn't have existed. We should have simply had Germany surrender, made them Maybe we do the same thing they did now. Same thing without bombing the country into nothing, without bombing Europe into oblivion. We could have still done it without all that death. Same outcome. A smaller Germany, paying reparations, not being war anymore, limiting their military, no nuclear war. Same thing without all the death. We could have done that, but we didn't. If we had done, and if we wouldn't have unconditional surrender, the Japanese would have surrendered before too, before we nuked them. And if that would have happened, the Russians don't invade Korea. If the Russians don't invade Korea, there's no Korean War. Your boy FDR. Thank him for the Korean War. Thank him for the Cold War in Germany. Thank him for East Germany, the Stasi, a split Berlin. All of that goes away if we just talk to our enemies and end the war. But we didn't. So anyway, Lauren, I'm giving you history lessons. See, today's history lesson for you guys. I appreciate it. Good. All right. The company I work for has been shut down for almost 10 months, and they are floating by the skin of their teeth. At 50, I might have to find a new career. The amount of people who I talk about, oh my God, yes. So much of that, Jimmy. We're changing a lot. It's difficult. Yes, we're changing a lot. So, all right. See if I can keep going. Brendan, you talking more? Okay. I was talking to a friend who recently started a business. He said wages are easy. The taxes surrounding wages are hard. Yes, absolutely. Payroll taxes are devastating. And then he mentioned workers' comp and New York workers' comp. New York is one of the, there's only like, I think it's 6 or 7 states who require that you have to have workers' comp, not just for accidents on the job, but for accidents off the job. So now the employer is now responsible if you're a jerk off the job. Don't get me wrong. If you spend time on, if I'm your boss and I tell you, Brennan, go do this thing and you get hurt, I get it. I'm the one who told you to do it. It's me. But you go off and decide, I'm going to go jump off a garbage can and into the street. Now I got to pay? Yes. New York State says yes. No, that one was you, right? But now I got to pay for that. So yes, it is horrible for workers' comp. It's terrible. That's why I was saying we have to also end an insurance board. New York State is the only state in the union that has an insurance board. All the other states use federal guidelines. So we have a special insurance board, which means it has to get paid. So that's why it immediately attacks you. If you open a business in New York State, and for those of you who have, within about 3 months or earlier, you'll get a mean letter from workers' comp saying you owe them thousands of dollars. I'm not joking. If you've opened a business, you know that's what happens. They assume you are guilty. Again, not joking. If you've done it, you know. And they say you owe me thousands of dollars. If you're not savvy, you get scared. You call them up. You negotiate. I'm not joking. They take whatever you can give. They just take it. It's a money grab. If you have an accountant, he goes, oh, this is garbage. He sends it to him and says, stop. You don't owe him anything. Stop. It's literally just a money grab. It works all the time. So you're correct. It's really bad. Yes. So, all right. He's going away for years, yet murderers are let back on the streets. Cool. Yeah, court. Yeah, you're right and not cool. You're right and not cool. Yes, absolutely. So, my man Larry, New York needs Sharpe. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. Yes. Good luck affording insurance if you don't work for big business. There is the next problem, right? Absolutely. Yes. Nothing. Yes. Another problem. 100%. Yes. Just trying to stay in business in Illinois is tough enough. Every day you hear about another tax that will affect my business. Dealing with COVID on top of hearing about increased taxes makes you think I must be the idiot. Tom, yes. They're turning entrepreneurs away. You're starting to say to yourself, why bother? Why bother doing this? Right? It's you push them so much to where it's not worth doing. Just forget it. You know what? Government, you win. I'll find a job somewhere. I'll go work for the government instead. I'll do that instead. I'll take my entrepreneurial spirit and I'll put it into doing cool YouTube or TikTok videos, and I'll leave and work for the government somewhere. I see that happening constantly. The amount of people I knew, I did a lot of work for city agencies. The amount of people I knew who were like, no, I was an entrepreneur, I couldn't hack it, so I just decided to work for the government. You get good benefits and it's an easy job. That's literally what they told me. You know, easy job, get good benefits. It wasn't worth the hassle anymore. Like, wow. Yes, all the time. And if you find in many cities, I know it's true in New York City, but many cities, you're actually finding some of the young people doing it also. You're finding 2 levels of people doing it. Those who are in their 30s, who have gone to school for, so much school, who were told the lie that if you just get a bunch of school, there'll be amazing jobs waiting for you, which is absolutely a lie, has been a lie forever and still is a lie. So, just total lie. So we're not, you spend all your time getting a bunch of degrees, hoping that all of a sudden someone will hire you. You have very little experience. You bounce around. You can't find a good job. And you finally realize, okay, what organizations care about degrees? Government does. Government actually hires you based upon that. You work for government. So you have a bunch of 30-somethings going to government. And the second is a bunch of 50-somethings. People who have been working, looking for a new career, can't find a new career, don't want to start another business, are just done. And they go, you know what? I'll go work for the sheriff's office. I'll go work for the prison system. I'll go work for the Department of Education. Fine, I just go do that. And I think you're going to find a lot of that. Absolutely. Wife works for Amazon. Yep, absolutely. Yes, 100%. So let's see. What is your thoughts on Harriet Tubman and $20 bill? I love the idea. I think it's great. Nice. I would spend a Tubman bill. I love the idea. It's good to put a person of color. Nice. She's totally brave and cool. Nice. I don't have a problem with it. But my point is, it's not a priority for me. But do I like it? I do. I think it's pretty cool. But if they do it, great. If they don't, the world's not going to end. It doesn't make my life better or worse if she's on the bill. Is it cool if she's in the bill? It is. I love the idea of a woman being on the bill, a person who fought slavery on the bill, a former slave on the bill. I think it's amazing. I love the idea. So yeah, do it. But let's just put that lower on the priorities. I think that's all I'm saying. But yes, absolutely go do it. Yes. So, all right, see if I can grab this next one. They don't want small business and control of anything in the hands of citizenry. Stephen, I hate that it looks more and more like that. I'm having trouble believing that they simply can't see it, or maybe they just don't care. We can't be the only people discussing this. There have to be others someplace, right? So, can force more taxes if the expert government takes care of instead. Bonus, more power for them, less for us. That's all this was done. Yep, I would agree. Yes. I'm not worried about people who protested outside the Capitol. The people who actually rushed in the Capitol, though. Well, even them, right? I mean, I would hope they wouldn't want to arrest people outside the Capitol. I would hope that's not true. I mean, I wouldn't put past law enforcement to just try to get a bunch of collars and to make their quotas for the year on this. But I hope it would only be people. My view is only people who went there with the goal of violence, and it was clear they were, and they came there with some form of equipment to exercise that violence, and then they went to the Capitol. Those people, yes, 100%, yes. Those people get hammered. The rest, no. So, will the impeachment of Trump cause more violence? I don't think so. I think it's just going to be like, whatevs. That's what I think. I do not think it will cause more violence. I think whatever happens next is going to, whatever the Republicans decide to do, Democrats do, that'll cause it, if anything. So, yes. Never heard your thoughts on abortion. Well, I actually have them on LarrySharpe.com. I've been clear on it before, but I guess you haven't heard it before. I am one of the oddballs. I think I am, at least. I'm someone who I consider myself not pro-life because pro-life says that I want government to stop abortions, and I don't believe government can stop abortions. I am anti-abortion, so I think people shouldn't get abortions. So what does that mean? It means that I want to create an environment to where women will get less abortions. I say this in every case. The best defense against women getting abortions is women choosing to not get abortions. So I would like to change the environment so that less women get abortions. What I've always promised when I ran is I will never pass a law to ban abortion, because you actually can't ban abortion. You can only ban safe abortion. You can't actually ban abortion. So I would never ban abortion. I don't think it works. It winds up in the long run. The end game of banning abortion is punishing poor women. And I think if you look at other countries that have changed their ban on abortion, they found the same thing. The wealthy women flew to countries or flew to areas that did abortions, and they would get them safely. And the poor women would be punished and get them the back alley abortion. That was a common problem. You see it here, even in America. States that it's very hard to have abortions. They either have back alley abortions or they just go to states that have abortions. So the way, if you actually care about abortion, in my view, and you don't just want to virtue signal and go, I'm pro-life. Meanwhile, you're a pro-life guy, and this actually happened, who had a side piece, got her pregnant, and then demanded she had an abortion because he didn't want his wife to find out about it. That's true. I'm not one of those guys. I'm instead saying, I want you as women to choose this abortion. So here are some things we should do. Number one, make surrogacy easy and legal. It's not legal in every state. Up until recently, it wasn't legal even in New York State. So there are literally thousands of families across this country who would happily take your baby, pay all your bills, pay everything, and just take your baby from you. You would act as a surrogate mother if you don't want to have your child. And that should be very easy for people to do, for people to take advantage of, to give women extra choices. Not just that, adoption should be way easier, and it's not. Adoption is super hard. I know it's personal for me. I was adopted in the 60s. Adoption is very hard to do. That's why people get their babies from, freaking China, Russia, whatever. Why? Get a kid out of America. There's tons of kids out of America who would love to be adopted. Make that easier. Make contraception over the counter. Pick it up, go, do your thing, do that. Education in general, right? Not just that. Imagine all the money that we have spent on trying to fight Roe v. Wade. Take all that money instead, put it into artificial wombs. Yes, I'm serious. Artificial wombs. That this isn't a thing yet, but there's ideas behind it. You have an artificial womb, guess what? Abortion becomes obsolete. No need for it. Once a baby goes a certain term, into the artificial womb, you don't want to carry your baby? No worries. You don't have to. Artificial womb's right there for you. We can still keep life sacred. We can still keep people, give them choice still. We just create a better environment. In reality, there are very few women who think using abortion as a normal way of contraception is a good thing. Very few women believe that. Some do, but very few do. Most women who get abortions do it because they believe it's the right answer for them. That's why most women get it. So I want to make an environment where they believe that's not the best answer. There are other answers for them. I hope that was clear. I know it was long, but abortion is very important to a lot of people. I just wanted to make sure that people understood where I stood on that. So there we go. So will Don Jr. or Ivanka run in 2024? I think no. I think the Republican establishment does not like the Trumps anymore at all, and they're going to ensure they can never run again. That's my view for national office. They may try to run locally like Florida or something. I think they'll be beaten there. Again, I think the establishment hates Trump. The establishment's always hated Trump, but I think now they think, now we can get him. That's what I think. So yes. All right. See if I can keep doing this piece here. All right. What is Joe Biden's plan to stop these fake calls about my car extended warranty? I know, right? Every single call is the extended warranty car. Absolutely. Yes. So I ran my own small business for 14 years until I was taxed out of business. Yes, I know. I get that. Almost always you find that the last piece that destroyed the business was government. Yes. Germans were still using horses to transport artillery and such in World War II. Also true. They were. The Germans, if not mistaken, brought over 1 million horses into Russia when they did Operation Barbarossa, which was the actual operation that invaded Russia in the summer of 1941. So yes, they brought over 1 million horses in. The horses were still being used. Horses were being used. People were walking, tanks, trucks. Absolutely, yes. Horses were used for a long time. Now horses, to be forward, horses were actually used by some of the Vietnamese forces in Vietnam. But as general, mules, not horses. Sorry, mules and yaks. And there were some horses brought from China. So there were some. So yes. So Larry, I love you. You have the right principles, but I think you should investigate the Capitol storming more closely. They were Antifa, posed as Trump supporters to push the agenda. I've seen multiple videos of regular boots on the ground people that proves this. Alicia, I'm unsure of this one. I've heard this before. What causes me pause on this one is even Fox News says it's not Antifa. Even Glenn Beck says it's not Antifa. And Glenn Beck is pro-Trump. He says it's not Antifa. Ben Shapiro, pro-Trump. says not that, right? A lot of people who are pro-Trump, I know people who are down there. Like I know physically people who are down there. I had one of them on my show on Friday. They're like, nope, wasn't Antifa. It was really Trump supporters. If you want to talk to Chrissy Mayer, I had her on last Friday, and she was like, no, I interviewed tons of people. She went there as a journalist. They weren't Antifa. They were Trump supporters. So to be clear, were there some Antifa there? Yes, that's true. And to be clear, guys, there were some Antifa there. That's true. But I think they're blowing this out of proportion. The percentage of Antifa people there compared to the Trump supporters was minuscule. Were they people who were maybe, yelling and screaming and saying, go do it? Yeah, maybe. True, maybe. That's possible. But the people who actually went in, these weren't all Antifa people. I mean, I know people who knew people who were in there. They weren't all Antifa. There were some Antifa people there. That's true. I'm happy to talk about that, but I feel like that's not something I'm really buying much, to tell you the truth. Just my view, Alicia. Hope you're not upset at me. Just my view. So for those that are small businesses and need help, there is someone helping. Barstool Sports. Yes, that's true, guys. Barstool Sports. There was over 30 million to help small businesses. Send them a video. There we go. Barstool Sports. Thank you, Joe. You are correct. And you're from Staten Island. You're supposed to be bad, according to King Andrew. You know I love you, though. Yes. I vote for the gun-toting Harriet. Yes. Oh, the Harriet with the gun. David, that's the one I want. Andrew, David stole my answer. I want David's answer. I don't take his answer. I don't want regular Harriet Tubman. I want gun-toting Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. That's the one I want. Thank you, David. I'm stealing his. I'm stealing his. Yes, absolutely. So, Jonathan, the Nazis stole my great-grandparents' horses from their farm. There we go. Yes. There we go. So, absolutely. Oh, let's see if I can keep going. What do you think of ex-chairman of the Fed Reserve as part of the Biden's economic team? It just shows we're going to print more money, man. That's it. Just going to print more money. Just print more money. Absolutely. Larry, I messaged law professor James Duane on Facebook about being a guest. He has responded. I know I also reached out to him also. I reached out. Was it you who told me to do that? Someone asked me to look for him. I think it might have been you. Maybe not. I've actually forgotten. I'm sorry if it was you. I apologize. But someone did ask me to reach out. I did. He did not respond to me either. He doesn't think I'm cool enough. Maybe. Yes. So I took the advocates test. 100% libertarian anarchist. I appreciate that. Thank you, Connie. Guys, take the test. It's up there. It's literally up there in the description. It's right there. Here is a little piece to it. Larry Sharpe here, host of the Sharpe Way show, and boy, do we need to start coming together and healing now more than ever. Best way to do that? Respect. We got to respect each other so we can start to come together. How can we facilitate that? Head over to the advocates.org/human respect tests. Yes, there's a test for human respect. You didn't think there was? There is. Take that test. About 3 minutes. That's it. It's done. Share it online. Share it on your social media. Let other people see it. Let them take the test. Share it with others. Let's start talking about respect. Let's start talking about healing. Let's find the right answer for us to move forward. The advocates.org human respect tests. Yes, indeed. And if you want to, head up to the show description, and it's right there. Click on that. Take that test. Share it with your friends. It's free, and it makes my sponsors happy. But if you happen to have some cool Trump bucks, if you're not one of those entrepreneurs who's getting their butt kicked, then do me a favor. Head over to patreon.com/sharpeway and throw me a couple bucks. Throw me $10, $25. If you're getting those big Trump bucks, or are they Biden bucks now? Whatever, they're stolen bucks. Fake printed bucks. Whatever they are, your fake printed bucks, send some my way if you can. Whatever you can helps. It helps me pay my staff so they can get out there and get some more cool stuff going to grow this show, then more people will see it. But no matter what, like, comment, share. I bring it up all the time. Please do it. If you are someone who enjoys CBD products, then please head over to grownselection.com. Make a purchase. Oils, powders, whatever you like. Put in Sharpeway 20 for 20% off. Help me out. Help out my sponsors. I would appreciate it. So let me keep going if I can. Let's see. I did do my piece on abortion. Someone asked that question already. Pete Clark on a $20 bill. Brilliant idea, Pete. I'm in. Yes, absolutely. Yes. So Larry, what do you think about the new proposed stimulus package? $300 per month per child, and Dems pushing for this as permanent. Sounds like COVID socialism. No, Vinny, this is one of my worries. You've hit a very valid point. If you've noticed in the past month or two, I've been talking more about the negative income tax, which is the least bad UBI scheme. The reason why I'm bringing that up is I'm starting to get worried that UBI is coming, almost no matter what we do. That is my worry, that UBI is coming. And if UBI comes the way they want it to come, like about Vinny, let's just write extra money every month, and we don't do any. We're going to wind up getting all the bad of UBI, none of the good. And the good, there's a good part to UBI. There is a good side to it. Again, in my view, it doesn't outweigh the bad, but there is a good side to it, to be forward. For those you don't know, if you do universal basic income correctly, it actually gets rid of all other forms of public assistance, which means there's no more infrastructure. There's no more, Social Security Administration, right? All that goes away. And that is a massive cut in government expenditure, red tape, problems, concerns. That's the one good side to UBI. And Vinny, what I'm worried about is we're not even going to get that, right? If you're going to do it, at least get the good side to it, right? We're going to do it to where they're going to keep all of that and take extra cash on top of it. This is what I'm worried about. I think making anything permanent without eliminating red tape, without eliminating the bureaucracy is a mistake, a horrible mistake that we're going to pay for horribly. At least if you get rid of the bureaucracy, you get some good out of it. Otherwise, it's nothing but bad. I really hope. Look, if the goal of the stimulus package is to stimulate the economy, if that's actually the goal, and it isn't, but if it actually was, then you actually you don't give any money to anybody else. You just say, how many Americans? 330 million? Awesome. Here are your checks. Done. There's no bill. There's no how much goes to here. There's no giving to cronies. If you're saying, look, I don't care about anything, I just want to stimulate the economy, that's all I want. Great. Okay, every American, here's $1,000. Go spend. I don't like that, but at least that does the job, right? That's the least cronyist. I keep saying it's the least bad because we keep doing the really bad. If we're going to go down this road, at least do the one that does the least harm. Stop giving everything to cronies. Stop doing all this, but instead just go, all right, I want to spur the economy. Everybody, here's $1,000. Go for it. And of course, open the economy. Otherwise, you're taking $1,000 and you're giving it to Amazon, which I'm not against people shopping at Amazon. Again, there's a place for Amazon in our economy, but man, it's like the economy. I want it to be a part of a larger economy, not I'm sorry, Amazon or Grubhub. I'm sorry. So give me to Amazon or Grubhub. I'm not okay with that. So I hope I answered that question. Yes. Right, Larry, libertarians have actual answers. That's what we're being investigated by the CIA now. We are a threat to the powers that be. This is actually a good thing, by the way, guys. This is actually a good thing. And that is, we've been ignored for decades, right? For those of you who paid attention, remember in 2016, we had our biggest showing ever. We had 4.5 million votes, 3% of the popular vote. We did double what Jill Stein did. Listen to anyone on the mainstream news talk about 2016 and third parties. Well, people wasting their time with Jill Stein. They wouldn't even mention Gary Johnson. They wouldn't talk about him at all. Totally ignored. Now I know we're making an impact because now they moved from ignoring us to now threatening us. Now they're fighting us. That's a good step. Don't get me wrong, it's a little bit scary, but it's the right step. I'm actually happy that this is the step. Yes, this is the right step. Yes. German logistics must have been a nightmare to manage. Yes, 100%. 3, 4 fronts, right? How many fronts? Yes. Western front, African front, and Eastern front. So yeah, 3 fronts. Absolutely. So there we go. All right. How can low-income families be successful when the schools are indoctrinating our kids when they're in session? Let my kids be brainwashed to be able to go out and work or live on welfare to be able to homeschool my kids. Let my kids be brainwashed to be able to go out and work or live on welfare to be able to homeschool. I'm not sure we go with the cat, but I think I know what you're talking about here. I think you're right. As a general rule, low-income families tend to go to public schools, and public schools tend to be all about indoctrination. I think it's true. If you look at, I did Wednesdays with William, which is my governor, William Bill de Blasio, and he talked literally about his new plan, which is the overall student asking questions, their mental health, their physical health, their blah, blah, blah health, all this health. I'm like, no, just teach them stuff. You don't need to be concerned about every aspect of the health of my child. I'm outsourcing my parenting to the state. And that's what's happening. We're outsourcing our parenting to the state. I don't want that. Well, Larry, parents do dumb things all the time and will with or without the state. But if a parent does something bad or is dumb or whatever the case may be, that hurts a child. Terrible. Absolutely. Hopefully, if we figure it out, we can then give the child some help and fix the child and repair what damage is done. We hope, maybe not. When the state does damage, that's millions of kids damaged. How do you fix a generation? You can't. You just lose that generation. A good example, that's Common Core. Common Core, we lost a generation of kids. Common Core mathematics and the current way we do math and English in schools is just to the actual test. So all we care about is math and English, which is why you don't have civics in your class, which is why you don't have shop in your class, which is why you don't have home ec in your class. It's not because the libs are stopping that. That's not why. It's because they all want government funds, which comes from a test, which is English and math. So they only care about English and math, and that's what they focus on that. That's it. So we keep doing these types of things to control everything. Here's the issue, and we've lost a generation. If you're in, I'm assuming many other states, but in New York State, this is how our system works currently. If you either can stay home to tutor your own kid, or you have a family member who can tutor your own kid, or you can afford tutors for your own kid, your kid will be okay. If you don't, your kid will struggle. That's how it works in New York State now. You have to have tutors. You simply have to. That's our system right now. You don't believe me? If you're in New York City, New York State, watch any mainstream TV, ABC, NBC, CBS, watch any of their local channels from say around 9 to around 11 a.m. in the morning. Every other commercial. Learning center, tutor school, learning center, tutor school, because they know you need that. You're at home going, I need this. That's where it goes. So, yes. So, excuse me. All right. Geek out. Thank you. Yes, I can geek out. Absolutely. The most popular way to use cavalry was flanking, hammer and anvil. Yes, as a general rule, you could use them as flanking, but also as scouts, right? Because at these early points, there's no balloons, there's no aircraft. So you would use cavalry on either flank to also scout and to skirmish. So you would know, are you being flanked, right? Are you being attacked? So you would use it often for that. And then, of course, to flank from the rear, from the side, and then rarely for a frontal attack on infantry that was not prepared, particularly if the infantry weren't regulars, right? They were, conscripts or something like that, units that weren't prepared to stand up to combat. When the average person who's not a trained soldier would see cavalry charging at them, they would just break and run. They literally would just drop their weapons and run away. So if you knew you were against an opponent that didn't have trained soldiers, you do a frontal charge. You'd break whatever that side that was, or of course flanking and also scouting and skirmishing. Yes, absolutely, sure. And of course for capturing bases ahead or behind the lines, right? So you're fighting a battle in the front, and the supply train is in the rear. Cavalry goes and captures the supply train, so that now when the enemy breaks, they have no place to go, right? They have no place to go. You actually want to make the enemy surrender by capturing supply trains and such. So thank you. For Napoleonic tactics on the back, I like that kind of history. Oh, there we go. Good. There we go. Perfect. There we go. Let's see. None of it, silly Larry. The enrichment of all generations with the wealth of knowledge you have is always worth the price of admission. Oh, thank you, my friend, Matt. I appreciate that. Thank you, brother. I do appreciate that. Yes. So the Mel Gibson's movie was horribly inaccurate. Yes, it was inaccurate. Yeah, but not a bad movie. All right. Patriot, right? Not a bad movie. But you know what? That brings the point, right? they often would try to attack the militia, which they thought the militia would always break and run. But American militia did not break and run. Not the regular troops, of course, were stronger, but the American militia, remember, the American militia many of them were frontiersmen. So many of them had already been in some type of Indian combat, Native American combat, even just fighting it for their own land. So they didn't break it as well as, say, if this was in a European war. In a European war, you literally have people who were just farmers for years and have zero experience in combat at all. And then a local prince or baron decides, hey, I want to, help my king or my Kaiser, and I'm going to send him a company of, militiamen. And he sends them a company, and they're literally a rabble. And the second the cavalry comes, they break and run. And the one thing that was accurate about the movie is that many of the British who were fighting there thought they were fighting a European army. And they thought that, American militia would break and run like European militia would break and run. That wasn't the case. So thank you for that. Yes. So I'm 1024th Polish to get bonus points. Yes, you do. You do, Bronco. Thank you. You do. Yes. So, all right. See if I can. Collective ownership usually fails. Paul, so far that's been true, and that was my point with Brennan. Right, most of the financiers and most of the people believe that it's not going to work. There really aren't that many good options. There aren't that many good examples of it actually working, and that's the problem, right? There aren't many examples of it working, and you have unions who are against it, and then financiers who are against it. So yes, valid point. Yes. All right. The Robin Hood theory is that you should heavily tax the greedy, bad, rich people and give it to the poor. Brian, thank you, by the way, for following up on this. But Robin Hood actually stole from the government. One reason people were so poor is that government was overtaxing. Yes, John, right? This is based upon King John, who signed the Magna Carta. Is that right? 1215? Is my history correct? I think 1215 he signed the Magna Carta and then backed off in it or something like that. I think that's the story is about a king who kept over. Robin Hood's written based upon King John, who kept overstepping his boundaries, to your point, and then had to sign the Magna Carta, which gave the people some rights. Basically, kind of a first constitution, if it makes any sense, limited the rights of the powers of the king. So yes, I think that's true. Should heavily tax the greedy. Now see what you're saying. Yes, you're right. Taxing the rich, bad, greedy people has never worked. Also has never worked so far. Every time countries have tried to tax the rich simply find another way to make their money, and they avoid the tax. Tax avoidance has been very successful throughout, at least the modern day for sure, right? The modern day for sure, which is why in many totalitarian states like Russia and China, they simply become criminals. What I mean by that, the Putins of the world will decide, man, we've got problems. We got to pay some bills here. Hey, that Russian oligarch, isn't he a criminal? Yeah, I think he's a criminal. Arrest him, seize his assets, pay off debt. And that was a common thing. That's basically the equivalent of the Roman prescription, right? For those of you who don't know, the Romans had a prescription where they would list the number of noblemen who they would kill and take their goods. I'm not joking, and pay off Roman debt. It was called the prescription. Yes, like medical prescription, because it would solve the problem. So the Romans would literally say, the Senates would go, okay. The Senates would go, okay, he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. He's a criminal. They would literally execute them, take all their goods, and then pay Roman debt. So I think the only way you get the rich to pay is through prescription. And Putin does that now. The Chinese do it too, to a certain extent. They do it also for Chinese oligarchs who are criminals. But in American style or any type of democracy, it doesn't work. The rich simply find ways of not paying. So it doesn't work. You'd be much better having an egalitarian, system with a floor or a floor, and then an egalitarian system. Generally speaking, when that happens, the rich actually do pay. So it's much better. So, all right. See if I can keep going through this. Isn't starting your own business a worker-owned business? Ooh, Wade. Yes. Well done, brother. Well done. Yes, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. And often, for those of you who started small businesses, very often the workers make more money than the actual owner of the business when it starts. I'm feeling that now. My team makes more money than I do. So yes, in fact, because I make nothing. So yes, absolutely. So by the way, patreon.com/sharpeway if you want my team to make more money. So yes, you're right. Absolutely true. Absolutely right. True. Thank you. Who do you side with in the Tom Woods / Dave Smith versus Nick Sarwark idea of the party's future? I got to tell you, I support both. I'm not that concerned. I think both of them believe that the other is taking over. And to one point, they're right. And that is when Trump was president, the party was beginning to lean left. That's true. Remember, the Libertarian Party by default is the anti-establishment party, right? It's against the establishment by default. So as I mentioned earlier on other shows, in each state, the Libertarian Party tends to lean the opposite of the state. So in New York, it's a blue state. Libertarian Party in New York leans right. It doesn't mean it's a right party. It isn't. There are tons of people who are left in the party, but it does lean right. It absolutely does. Oklahoma, it leans left, right? Because Oklahoma is a red state. The country's the same. When Obama was president, the party kind of leaned right. Obama was president. Trump was president. The party started leaning left. And a lot of people who liked it leaning right didn't like that at all. They started getting upset and angry. Why? And they started going over to Trump and not saying Libertarian Party. Why? The party leaned left. Clearly, Trump was president. Biden's president now. The party's probably going to lean right. So it doesn't really matter, to be forward, what Dave Smith and Nick Sarwark actually think. The party is going to be moved by the number of people who join it. And generally speaking, with Biden winning, less of the left will join the Libertarian Party because they're going to give the Democrats a shot because they're in charge now, right? So more people on the right will join now. Before, more on the left were starting to join. So I think that's the reality, is that it moves whether they like it or not. And I'm not concerned about the left taking over the party or the right taking over the party. I'm not concerned. I think the party has enough principles in its own that those people who are just temporarily here will just leave anyway. And those who actually believe it, I think they'll stay. So I hope that was good. So yes. All right. Let's see if I can pick this up. We got some war people here. Polish winged hussars, badasses of the battlefield for 200 years. By combining what their enemies use for the East and the West against them, should be able to mix that with the topic. Polish is the issue I have. Hussars are Eastern European. I'm not sure I'd call them only Polish. There were hussars that were Russian, hussars that were Prussian or Germanic. So I think it was hussars were all over Eastern Europe. But yes, I think you could say Polish for sure. And I think that was the spirit of the Poles in World War II. They had that hussar spirit, but it was Eastern European in general, to include Prussians and I think Russians too. Maybe Baltics. I actually don't know if the Baltic states had hussars. My assumption would be yes, from the Teutonics. I would assume that to be true, but I'm actually not sure about that one. So, all right. What do you think of politicians who despair after losing an election? I think it's sadly common, particularly in the Libertarian Party. That's what I think, John. I think it's sadly common, right? The problem is most people who run for office in the Libertarian Party particularly do one of two things. They do it, one, because it's a vanity run for them. I want to be important and cool. So they try to run and then they lose and they go, well, forget it, I'm out. Or they get their celebritarian status and they move on, right? Well, whatever, they leave. And the other one is, I'm going to do it because I'm super smart or I'm super principled. And they realize it's really harder than they thought. They get disenchanted and they often quit halfway through and then never come back. It's a problem we have. I'm trying, John, I know you are too, because I know you failed and you're still here. And I appreciate that tremendously. So, John is running again. So thank you, John, for that. The issue is I'm trying to be the change that I want. I lost my election. I'm still here. I'm not leaving. I'm still here. I'm still going to move forward. I'm still trying to make impact. And you can make impact by running or not running, right? If you run an election and you go, oh my God, I have been devastated by this election. It crushed me. I don't want to do it again. No worries. You can still stay in the party and help in other ways, right? Without having to run again. So yes, thank you. That's what I think about them. They're far too common and they hurt us. Yes. All right. How about the collective start the business? Not a bad idea at all. I think you do have some of that, co-ops, right? You have that locally. A lot of people locally will start co-ops. It's not a bad idea. I love the idea. Profit sharing can work. It depends on how you do it. The problem is once you start profit sharing, depends how you do it. Once you let the average worker into your pocket and they know what you're making, how you're making, all that stuff, you often get a lot of people who are angry. I've seen that happen many times, right? So now you start a business, you start a business, and the business makes $100,000, and you decide that in profit, and you decide that 80,000 should go back into the business. You decide that 10,000 should go to you, and 2,000 apiece should go to your 5 employees. You decide that. The employees go, well, why do you get 5 times? Or, well, you shouldn't put 80% into that. You should put 60% and give us more. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing or a wrong thing, but it can be a problem. So whenever you set up any type of profit sharing situation, you need to be clear on who sees what, when, how do you decide what profit is, when do they see that profit, all those things have to come into play, and then they have to agree up front with what percentages are given, right? If you have to decide the percentages, you're just fighting. It should be upfront clear. Everybody gets X or Y or Z. You don't like it, don't make the deal. So I think it's not a bad idea. There's just so much involved in a profit sharing agreement. It's nowhere near as simple as somebody might think. So hope that was clear. So I wasn't even saying that they should have preferred shares. I just always thought it funny people getting paid the highest salaries also get to buy discounted stocks. They should offer similar stuff to regular workers so we can actually have a chance to prosper the company. I agree with that, but there is an argument, right? And the argument is if things go wrong in theory, it's not actually in practice, right? And that's why I'm saying theory versus practice. In theory, the CEO's in trouble if things go wrong, right? In practice, they're not. In practice, they always get away with it. But in theory, they're in trouble if things go wrong. The worker isn't. The worker just gets fired and moves on. But the CEO could be in trouble. So I think we should change that piece because it's not actually true. It's just a theory. So, all right. See if I can keep going. With Brennan's comments about libertarians, will Congress bring back the House Un-American Activities Committee? Oh, my God. I sure hope not. God, I hope not. That would be terrible. Yeah, that would be terrible. Yeah. I'm going to say no. That's too McCarthy. They'll punish in other ways. And the people they want to punish, they actually don't want to be clear, David, they actually don't want to punish libertarians. They want to scare people away from libertarians. They want to punish the Trump Republicans because those people are heretics in their minds. In their minds, right? You got to remember, the establishment Democrats and Republicans are all part of the same religion of government. Trump supporters are heretics. They don't believe in that. And Trump didn't believe in that. So they hate them. So no, they do not want that at all. They are very unhappy with that. So their goal actually is just to punish Trump Republicans. The goal with libertarians is just to scare people away. So I don't think they'll do that. They'll just find other ways to punish Trump Republicans because that's what they're worried about. So management usually justifies their salary by their performance. Yes and no, right? Yes, that's true. But often you have golden handcuffs or golden parachutes. And on top of that, the performance is usually stock price. And stock price doesn't mean you have a good company at all. Your stock price can be high and you can have a garbage company treating your people terribly, even a garbage product, right? For those who don't know, the stock market might as well be a casino. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. If I was all of a sudden to run a stock market, I actually wouldn't have it run by, the SEC. I'd have it run by literally a gaming committee. A gaming commission would be fairer. It's the stock market. You would ask somebody, what makes a stock go up, right? What makes a stock go up? And people say, well, it's earnings versus... No, only one thing, perception, nothing else. That is the only thing that affects the stock price, nothing else. They tell you anything else, they're lying. It's just not true. Or they're ignorant. Do people want the stock? They do, it goes up. Do people not want the stock? They don't, it goes down. Done. No ifs, no ands, no buts. So yes, performance, it's true, Paul, but usually it's stock price. If it's a publicly traded company, and stock price means nothing for the company. The company could be great, the company could be garbage. Doesn't matter at all. So yes. 80-20 can work for ground beef. 20% fat is some delicious beef. So I would love 80-20. Very nice. That would be awesome. So yes. Larry, you're going to fail the Libertarian purity test. I know, and you know why I fail literally the Libertarian test? For most people get mad at me. It's because I won't hate the other, right? The gentleman earlier asked whether I'm kind of more on the Sarwark side or on the Dave Smith side. I'm friends with both of them. I don't have a problem with either of them. I love Dave Smith. People want me to hate Dave Smith. I hear it all the time. You got to hate him. He's horrible. I'm not going to hate him. And the right goes, you got to hate Sarwark. I'm not going to hate him. I don't hate them because they're both my ally. If I need help moving an issue forward and Dave agrees with that issue, I promise you he will go out of his way to help me. He's libertarian. He will go out of his way to help me. We don't agree on everything, but I don't give he's listening. If you know him, you can tell him I said so. I'm 100% sure. If I was like, we got to move this thing forward, Dave, need your help, he'd be like, yep, I'm in, Larry. Let's help. Nick, same thing. Nick, we got to move this forward. I need your help. Yep, Larry, I'm in. They absolutely would help me. They're both allies. They both go with my 80-20 rule. They're not my enemy. Even though we absolutely have disagreed on things here or there, and we will in the future also, they are still absolutely my allies. And if I needed them, they would come to my side. And I would come to theirs. To be clear. And I already have, in certain cases, already come to their aid. So yes, I would. So I hope that was clear. So yes, I'm not a libertarian. Thank you, Matt. There we go. Yes, 100%. All right. The economy is shot to hell. That's true. What would you suggest for the Biden administration to effectively stimulate and maintain the economy? I actually brought this up literally months ago. And I think it is stop bailing out people and companies and just bail out banks. We're going to do a bailout. I hate the fact that we're going to do a bailout, but I know we are. Stop bailing out people. You are giving people fish and not allowing them to fish. The biggest issue when someone's in trouble, financial trouble, isn't actually cash. It actually isn't. It's debt. Debt is what destroys us. Debt is what puts us under. So if you control the debt, that's the root of the problem. We then can grow. So instead of any plan that's send checks to people or whatever, instead, banks stop collecting. I need X months of banks to stop collecting on everything. We will bail you out for the losses you take. America, grow. So the first step, get rid of debt for now. I'm not saying erase debt. I'm saying stop collecting. There's a difference. Stop collecting for a certain period of time, whatever that 3 months, 6 months, whatever that time period is, so they may not collect. The debt still exists, doesn't go away, but and no fees, no nothing. Whatever the banks lose, government writes a check to the bank. There you go, there's your money, move on. Banks love guaranteed money, so what will they do with getting guaranteed money? They'll start loaning even more because that's what banks do. So once you make the banks know they're going to be whole for 6 months, they'll actually start loaning more money out because leverage is what they do. So they'll actually loan more money out. Now, add on top of that, take all licensing that's required across any given state and say, look, this should become credentialing, not licensing, meaning you can do it, whatever that thing is. You can do anything you want. You can do it, but you will not have a government credential unless you pass the rules and regulations, and then you get the government credential. You may not say you have a credential. You can't do that. If you do that, that's fraud. That's a crime. But like, say, for example, as I make this up all the time, to be a hair braider, to run a hair salon or a barbershop, have a license, make it a credential, meaning you can do it if you want to, but you can't say you're credentialed by the state. So now you can walk into a place and go, do I want to use them? Do I trust them or not? I don't trust them because not credentialed. Don't go there. Go to one that is credentialed. If they are not, if you want to use them, go ahead. They'll be cheaper. They can raise money. Community starts growing. So I think you end credentialing and and freeze the debt for a certain period of time and have the government just pay the banks off so they'll start loaning again. You'll start seeing all of a sudden the businesses start growing again. And it'll be small business because they'll start growing that. So I hope that was clear. That was simple. If you guys really care about how to fix this, on my Sharpe Way YouTube page, there's a playlist. It says COVID response. I think that's March 2020. There's 10 videos on exactly what to do to fix it. I was on board with these ideas literally last year. I already gave the answers. People just didn't care, but it's fine. So, all right. Let's keep going if I can here. All right. Adam Cast, IRL. I think Larry should get on the show. Look him up. Yes, please. Go ahead. That sounds good. I love that idea. Yes. All right. So if I can keep going. The A10 is still a nasty asset. I agree. The A10 Warthog is a monster. Yes. We were using them against the Afghanistan, even though they weren't wrecking tanks next to a force. I missed that sound 30mm cannon. For those of you guys who don't know, the A10, literally in the bottom of the center, has a cannon. It's a 30mm cannon, and it fires like a machine gun. So it's a machine gun cannon. If you can imagine how powerful that is, a machine gun cannon. It's devastating. So yes. So thank you for that. All right. Let's see if I can keep going here. All right. Larry, what is your position on the United States taking back control of its currency and money supply from the Federal Reserve? Obviously, I love the idea, right? Of course I do. James, there are three problems to this. While I love the idea and I'm yes on it, the three problems are, number one, the average American has no idea what you just said. They don't even know what that means. You might as well have just spoken Greek to the vast majority of Americans. They have no idea what you just said. They don't know that the Federal Reserve prints the money. They don't know that the Fed isn't a government organization. They have no idea what that is. They think the Fed's saving us. That's what they believe. So the first part is the public relations piece and education piece. We've got to spend more time talking about the Fed, getting people to understand what it actually is and the damage that it causes and how bad it is. And we're not good at that. What we do is we yell, "End the Fed!" We just yell that and people don't get it. We have to have longer conversations. One of the reasons I talk about auditing the Fed. Talk about auditing the Fed, not because I think auditing the Fed will actually do anything. It won't all of a sudden go, "Oh my God, now it's over." No, I think auditing the Fed gives the opportunity for the press to get involved. Because James B. Forward, most people in the press don't know either. I'm not joking. Most of them don't know either. So they actually don't know. This is like a secret that like all libertarians know and like no one else knows. So they'll begin to understand and they'll start digging in. And the point is, auditing the Fed, in my view, is a way of starting to get the average person to understand what the Fed's actually doing. Second piece, a lot of people make money on the Fed. Those people are not going to want to end the Fed. A lot of them are going to want to make tons of money on the Fed. It is literally a good old boys club of billionaires. They are not going to be happy with old James and get rid of the Fed. Not going to be happy about that. So deal with them, which goes to the third piece. We need a real plan. It can't be overnight. Ending the Fed overnight would be devastating. The amount of disruption that would happen in our country and across the world would be devastating. So we have to have an actual plan to kind of reboot the dollar in some way. And that might be over time. That might be a multi-year plan. That might be overnight, but we know when it's going to happen. So we work up to it and know at this point it's done. Any of those things. There has to be a plan to do so. And my gut says we may have to use some form of cryptocurrency to do that, which is a little bit scary, but I'm not sure that's true. We may just have to reboot the dollar. It's possible to go, but the dollar is now worth this. And we may have to do that. And then decide, what are we going to ping our dollar to? Is it back to gold? Is it silver? Is it something else? So it's a huge plan we have to deal with the Fed. Should we do it? Yes. Can we do it? Not today. It's not feasible today, but we should do it. Yes. It's going to take a lot of education and then a serious plan. My gut says 5 years, but that's just pull out of thin air. Hope that answers your question. So yes. All right. Modern weapons have made the A-10 and Abrams tank obsolete. I'm not sure modern weapons have. I think modern warfare, if that makes any sense. Modern warfare is in that. I mean, modern weapons still can't touch the A-10 and the Abrams. I mean, I guess drones could in theory. You'd have to have specialized drone strikes. But even only America really has the drone strikes that can actually do that. So I think it's actually modern warfare. We're not fighting that way anymore. We're fighting cyber. You know, we're fighting in the jungles, in the mountains. We're fighting drone strikes. We're just not doing that type of weaponry anymore. So I would say modern warfare has made those kind of obsolete. So there we go. All right. I'm a libertarian, but I love planes. Yes, the Huey, absolutely. P-51, C-130, Hercules. Yes, P-51, the Mustang, World War I fighter. Absolutely. And the two are cargo planes. So 2 cargo planes and 1 fighter. All right. Yes. All right. I wish people would understand the federal payroll tax on business that are focusing on income tax. Yes, Tom. Yes. Absolutely. Brennan was just talking about this. Yes. Payroll tax is devastating. Yes. When I try to tell my friends that Amazon paid $3 million to the government because of this, they don't believe me. Yes. But we all pay that. That's my point, right? Payroll tax is a better tax. Okay, hold on. Let me restate that. Payroll tax is a fairer tax. It's not a better tax. That's I need to change how that works. We have to, it's a fairer tax in that more people pay it regardless of who you are, right? Bigger businesses pay it, smaller business. So it's a fairer tax. It's not a better tax. It's a fairer tax. You're correct. Yes, absolutely. 0% corporate tax. Thank you, Andrew. That's my point. Yes, absolutely. We have to change that. 100%. Yes. All right. Let's see if I can keep going here. All right. FDR, the guy who locked up 120,000 Japanese Americans in concentration camps for being Japanese Americans. Yes. Yeah. I'm not a big FDR fan. In case you hadn't figured that out, not a big FDR fan. The FDR legacy has black eye internment camps for Asian Americans, school to farmers. My grandpa never talked bad about anyone except him. Yeah, did, and he's the one who took the gold, right? He's the one who went and confiscated the gold, right? Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I'm not a fan, as you can tell. Not a fan at all. Not my guy. I'm not jumping down going, FDR, he's the man. Greatest president ever. Not me. I'm not playing that game. So anyway. All right. Let's see if we can do this. Let's see if I can get more here. Jonathan says, Nick Fuentes was there in the Capitol. I truly and deeply hate that Holocaust denying racist. Well, there we go. Yes. Let's see. I was in DC on the 6th. Yes, I seen 2 or 3 Antifa. Everyone else was a patriot. I don't know the level of influence that Antifa had. Antifa had. Yes, this is what I've heard from many people, right? You're not the only person to tell me this. There were some Antifa there. That's true. And I don't know. I mean, my assumption is they were rousting people to go do bad things. That's my assumption. Antifa is, that's what they do. So my assumption is that was happening. But the vast majority of people there were actually Trump supporters. There were Antifa there. Everyone's been telling me the same thing. I've heard this, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 times already. So I'm kind of buying it. I think you're right. I think that's where it was. Yes. So, yes, it'd be great to have Larry on Adamcast, Timcast too. Well, tell Tim to bring me on, brother. I'm happy to come on. If he wants to come here, I can come here if he wants to, but I'm happy to have him on. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Let's see if I can keep going. Another 100% libertarian. Yes, fits perfectly. I love that. Perfect. All right. Do you believe the Tulsi followers will move towards Libertarian Party or stick with Democratic Party? My gut tells me that a lot of Tulsi people are going to start to shift towards libertarianism. I think many of them are. That's my gut. The only thing that holds them there, believe it or not, is healthcare. That is a big sticking point with many Tulsi supporters. Many Tulsi supporters really support some form, if not totally, Medicare for all, Medicaid for all, something like that. And very few libertarians support that. However, if you can come up with an actual, healthcare plan, which I did for New York State, I think you can draw enough Tulsi supporters in if you say, you know what, I'm prepared to make a better system without destroying the current system. If you notice, all of my policies weren't destroy the monopoly that is government, because then there's nothing there. It was create an actual alternative to government so that people can use both. And if my side is the right side, more people will go there and the government will either get better or collapse. Both the right answer. I think if we as libertarians do more of that, I think we'll get Tulsi supporters to us, because many of them are really concerned. It's one of their bigger issues. They're totally with us on the wars. They're totally on us on that. But that's a big issue for. She's actually much more physically, socially conservative than many people think she is. She is. So, all right. Tim would never give Larry time of day. Well, he should. He should. Absolutely. There we go. Yes. Let's see if I can keep going here. See if I can keep going. Tim has downhole problems from fence sitting. Oh, is that right? Okay. Well, there we go. Whichever. I'm okay. There we go. There we go. All right. No more, Mr. Larry. No more of the scary commercial, dude. He makes me pee my pants. That guy is scary. I agree with that. Yes, absolutely. So, all right, I'll grab a couple more. Biden wants to pay people unemployment benefits even if they turn down a job offer. They will get paid because they can't claim they are afraid of because they can claim they're afraid of COVID. Horrible precedent. Yeah, that's interesting, Paul. But again, if the goal, and this is my point from earlier, if the goal is just to simulate, that's it, then don't worry about unemployment benefits, right? Is the goal to make people right, or is the goal to stimulate the economy? They're saying stimulate. If it's not just stimulate, don't do employment benefits any extra. Keep regular employment benefits, change nothing. Just write everybody a check then if that's the thing, right? If that's the thing, just do that. But to my point, if we simply froze debt for, say, 6 months, I'm not sure what the number is, and you knew, Paul, that in 6 months you got to start paying bills again, would you really want to sit in unemployment for 6 months? You probably wouldn't. Not just that, banks would be happy with their money. They'd be loaning money out to start new businesses. Odds are there'd be some opportunities for you, and you probably wouldn't want to sit on unemployment because you know you got to start paying bills in a couple of months. So I think my way is a better way of making that happen. That's just my view. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think it's a better way without question. So, can I turn down the stimulus? I get more monthly from my deceased father's estate each month. Well, again, the point, if it's a stimulus, no, Jonathan, spend it. Otherwise, what are you doing? Oh, you know what? Donate to somebody. Take your money, donate to someone who you know is in trouble. Have them spend it. If it's a stimulus package, we got to spend the money. So take the money and spend it. Otherwise, it's not a stimulus if you're not spending it. So yeah, don't put, whatever you do, Jonathan, don't put it in the bank. That's the only thing don't do. Either donate to somebody who needs it, but just spend that stuff, man. Get it out there. Get it into someone else's hands as soon as you possibly can. UBI will inspire the duopoly to promise more. Yes, John, that's exactly my worry. Yes, that's exactly my worry. You've hit it perfectly. That's why I'm not a fan of UBI. I'm just worried that that's where we're going. And again, if we're going to go there, then let's go negative income tax. If we're going to go there, let's go negative income tax, right? Again, I'm not a UBI guy, but I'm seeing the writing on the wall. The world is begging for UBI. Let's do the right one at least. Let's do that at least. That's what I'm saying. So, yes. Brian says it. John Morrissey, right? Not the negative income tax model. He doesn't like it. I like the negative income tax model as the best of the UBI models. It's just my piece. So, all right. Jimmy, not a fan of UBI. Me either. I think it hurts us in the long run, right? UBI does help short term. It does. It's a short term piece. It's short term value to UBI. Long term disaster. Long term hurts us culturally, hurts us economically. Long term, it's a problem. But absolutely short term, it's a good answer short term. And most people are looking for the short term. That's really the issue. So that's really a big problem. So you should run for Senate. I'll move to New Jersey and run. It's a little less hostile here. You know, I don't want to run for something where I won't have impact. And a run for Senate wouldn't give me any impact. So why would I do it? Why would I ask for all your time, money, and energy if I'm not going to make impact? I want to make impact. And a Senate run is not going to do that. A governor run might do that, right? Something like that might do it. But I'm not running to run. I'm not running just so someone's on the line. That to me is a waste of my time, money, and energy. And it's a waste of your time. You'd be helping me. I'd be bugging you all for money and time. That's what I'd be doing, all your energy. And I'm not going to do that to you unless I see value in it, unless I see impact. I just don't see impact in that. So I appreciate it, but I just don't see it. Lara, we also need oversight on child protective services and family court. They rip kids away from parents over allegations that are anonymous. 100% yes. And one of the reasons why we do this, Angel, is because there are incentives, right? This is a racket. This is a money-making scheme that the states use to raise funds. And now that we have such a problem with our budget, they're going to make it worse. The family court is going to get worse, sadly. Taking kids away, making sure people pay child support. For those who don't know, when you pay child support, it goes to the state. And the state takes a cut, like a credit card company. So the more child payments, the more money the state makes. So it's a racket. And taking kids, they get money from the federal government. It's a racket. So now that we all of a sudden have a terrible, budget deficit, where do you get the extra cash from? You're going to pay more. Someone's going to pay. It's going to be you. Cut? We're not cutting anything. We're not cutting spending. You just got to pay more. And yes, you are totally correct. I agree completely. I say it all the time. Yes, absolutely. So, see if I can keep doing this. If I can keep going. We share the same thought. Education is more than rote memorization. It's not education if you learn because you have to. It is if you learn because you want to. Yes, absolutely. Larry should come to Porch Fest in New Hampshire in June 2021. Will make you want to come. Maybe I will. It's not a bad idea. Maybe I'll come. I simply haven't. I haven't gone in the past. Maybe I should. I love it. Yes, maybe I should. All right. Let's see here. I just moved to upstate New York from Boston. Thank you, Catherine, for coming to New York. So few people are. Yes. I may be interested in joining your team. How to go about getting a job or volunteer position. Please message the Facebook page, either the Sharpe Way page or the Larry Sharpe Libertarian page. They're always monitored by someone on the team. So that will get to me in some way, shape, or form, or you'll be someone else will respond to you. So yes, message either page. They're always monitored. So yes. The greatest cavalry charge was the Battle of Helm's Deep. Oh, you're geeking out on me. Yes, you are geeking out on me. Absolutely. So, all right. Let's see if I can keep this. Education should be the act of giving students tools for life. Absolutely. Yes. Yep. As it concerns the Patriot, it was filmed in the great state of South Carolina completely. I didn't know that. I actually assumed it was shot in Georgia because so much has been shot in Georgia in the past 20 years. I assumed it was in Georgia. I live near the grave of one of the men who was the inspiration for Mel Gibson's character, Thomas Sumter. There we go. Nice. I love that. I like that. Watching Thomas Sowell and smoking some weed. Love you, Larry. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. I love that. Let's see. Exactly. And where would it end? Larry mentioned 1,000, but all politicians would do is use to buy votes. No question. Yes, Jimmy. That's not what would happen. You are right on the money. 100%. King John, yes, Magna Carta. Thank you. I'm not always correct in my history. I'm pretty close usually. But yes, thank you. It was Magna Carta. Yes. See if I can keep going here. What do you think about Yang running for mayor? I think the odds of Yang winning the mayorship are high. If the establishment gets behind him or ignores him, he wins. If the establishment goes against him, he loses. Our governor, King Andrew Cuomo II, oh, hail the king, he runs this state with an iron fist. If he's against Yang, he'll stack the deck so that Yang will lose the primary. Or he'll make something bad happen. People will talk bad about him or something. He'll lose the primary. But if he either doesn't care or backs him, I think Yang will win the primary, in which case, in New York City, that means you win the election. The primary is the election in New York City. There is no actual election. I mean, there is, but it's useless. It's just, see, we pretend like we vote. So no, we don't. Absolutely. So, all right. Me losing my election motivated me. I'm back into my James. That's what I want to hear. James, James, by the way, was on my Libertarian Drinking Coffee live in the past last year, and brought up the idea that he was talking about was the idea of, if I remember it right, James, tell me if I'm wrong, but if I remember it right, because I use this, I tell people about you and this idea, which was to, once you retire at 65 or older, you pay no state property tax. And now that's not true in the state now, but he wanted to make that a rule. And the goal was to encourage retirees to move to a state, which is Kentucky, if I'm right, James, right? So we would move people to Kentucky, bring retirees and their pensions to Kentucky, because if they bought land, they pay no property tax. At a certain period of time, they stop paying property tax. I think a very ingenious idea. I love, that's the kind of solutions that libertarians come up with. And this is what James came up with, and it's brilliant. I appreciate that. I love that. So yes, thank you for that. So, all right. Let's see here. Larry, it's a good email for you. Again, the page and they'll give you the email they want you to use for whatever you want, right? There's several emails, message the page, and we'll give you either one. So yes. So, all right. Let's see here. We're glad that you are here. We need more people to discuss things respectfully and without constant hyperbole. Yes, indeed, Jericho. Thank you so much. We're all trying to do this. Yes, absolutely. All right. Unless Larry runs, then Yang is second. Being a New York resident, I'd sacrifice my life for Cuomo's in a second. Okay. I'm not sure where that's going, but okay. All right. Did any notice that Brennan also included himself when he included authoritarians in with the others? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes, that's good. It's easy. It's easier ways to weaponize politics than HUAC. I agree. Yes. And again, I don't think they're trying to fight libertarians. They're trying to fight Trump Republicans. That's what they want. They don't like Trump Republicans because they're heretics. So libertarians they're like, please just go away. That's what they want. Absolutely. Bailing out the banks, libertarian heresy. I agree, Logan. I am with you. Bailing out is bad. I don't want to bail anybody out, but guess what? We're already bailing them out. We're just bailing out cronies right now. Right now, we're bailing out cronies. Right now, we're making crony capitalism even worse. Right now, we are giving the socialists the ammunition they need to call capitalism, a failure. We're giving them the story right now with what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So, yes, I'm realistic in the world right now. It's that or bail the banks out. If I have a choice, one or two things, as I said, either just one check to the banks. Crank the money machine up. Fake money to the banks or write a check to the banks. Done. Now we move on and grow. Or money directly to the people. Either way, nothing to the cronies. Right now, Logan, we're giving tons of money to cronies. We are giving the socialists the argument that they need. We're giving to them right now. That's what I'm trying to stop. So, yes. All right, Thomas, I love you, Dave Smith and Sarwick. I like that. There we go. See? All good. We're all good. I love it. Of course. So, all right. Let me keep going if I can here. All right. It's almost like diversity of opinion is necessary. Yeah, I like that. Absolutely. Yes. I love Larry's crowd voice. I'm not sure what that one is, but I'm trying to be entertaining. I hope so. Yes. Larry, do you think the market's going to crash during the Biden administration? I do. I think it will, but not now. But I think it will. And I think not now because I think they're just going to crank out. They're going to just crank the money machine out. They're just going to keep pouring in tons of money for at least a year. Just going to pour it in, which of course will make a bigger bubble. So when it does crash, it'll be even worse. But I do think it's going to crash. I do, but not now. I think we're probably safe. My gut tells me about a year because they're just going to throw more money in. Just, here's more money. Oh, here's more money. Oh, here's more money. Eventually that will run out. And when that runs out, it'll go, boom. That's what I think. I think most of it begins to crash in some way, shape, or form. This is just my gut. 2023, right after the 2022 elections, is when they'll begin to crash. After the elections, everyone's back in happy and they can survive for 2 more years. That's when it'll crash and they'll rebuild out. I'm sure they'll still blame Trump. It's all his fault. I'm sure, whatever. It'll be his fault. So my gut says, yes, it will crash. 2023 is when I think it'll crash. I think they'll just throw so much money at it that it can't. I think they will not care. More money, more money, more money. So, yes. All right. See if I can keep grabbing a couple more if I can. And the Fed, yes, I'm with you, but we got to do it the right way if that makes any sense. Yes. When I think the dollar will crash, I think that's when it will crash. 2023. I think it'll start crashing then. Right. I've already said I feel already the only way to save the dollar is one of two things. Just reboot the dollar and just go, okay, the dollar is now worth this. You make an announcement. The dollar's worth this. Take it or leave it, guys. You do that or some type of cryptocurrency. I think it's the only way you can do it. I maybe there's another way, and I'm open to hearing another way. I just can't see another way of rebooting the dollar. I don't see another way. You just announce it. It's now worth X ounces of silver or whatever we ping it to. I don't know what you ping it to. Or use some form of cryptocurrency. And people accept it or they don't, or they don't. Yes, either one. So, all right. Ideological purity test is the number one issue holding back LP growth. Yes, yes, and yes. Because it makes the party not hospitable to others. Remember, most people come to our party not because they just, oh, I'm 100% libertarian. They come to our party because they just somehow realize their party isn't so great, or they have no party, and they heard something that someone said that made sense. They go, that Rick guy, that made sense what he said. Well, what's he do again? Where's his party? And then they come to us and go, some guy said something that made sense to me. I want to talk to you about it. And then someone yells at them, you're a statist. You're not a real libertarian. And they go, wow, you guys are jerks. And they walk away. Have to remember something. Politics is emotional. And if you start yelling at people, they don't want to talk to you. They just don't. So I completely agree. We should be much more open to training, right? People don't come to Marine Corps boot camp as Marines. They come to Marine Corps boot camp as recruits. And then over time, they become Marines. So people come to the Libertarian Party as recruits. And then over time, they become libertarians. And we have to accept that most people coming to us are not libertarians. They're people who think, yeah, could be. Yeah, maybe. We have to be the ones who get them to, really understand that. And we have to be the ones who train them, Rick. So you're totally correct. So do you think that Tulsi could become a libertarian? Possibly. I'm not sure, to be forward with you. Tulsi may just kind of walk away from electoral politics. She might just go, you know what? I'm known well enough. I'll go work on individual issues that I care about, right? She might work specifically on maybe, ending the wars or a healthcare answer for Hawaii or something. So she might not go back into electoral politics. She might just start working on things that she cares about. She has enough name recognition. She can raise money, so she could actually do something like that. So does that mean she'll be on our side sometimes? I think yes. But if she stays in Hawaii, for those who don't know Hawaii is completely dominated by the Democratic Party. And I mean totally dominated by the Democratic Party, similar to New York State. So if she wants to get things done in her home state of Hawaii, she may stay a Democrat, but align with libertarians when the time comes. That's what she might do. My gut tells me she'll do that and actually not run again. That's what I think she'll do. But if she runs again, she's to decide. Does she actually want to win? Is she running to win? If so, if it's in Hawaii, she's probably going to run as Democrat, right? She probably would. If she's trying to get attention for something, she might run as Libertarian. It's possible. She runs Libertarian to get the name out, the word out, so that she can move her issue forward that she cares about. That's what I think. That's my opinion. So this is why I actually like you, because I'm not a fan of Eric July / Dave Smith of Libertarian, but I appreciate you because you're reasonable. Thank you, John. I do appreciate that. Yes, I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. I am trying very much to be the guy that people can talk to. That's what I'm trying to figure out. So thank you for saying that. So guys, let me see if I can grab a couple more. I did already pick that one already. I already picked up the crash there. Let me see if I can grab a couple more. Tulsi has earned a break with that being a soldier. Yes, she actually, during the campaign, had to go away for a couple of weeks because she was actually a reservist. So she was running for president. She went away for a couple of weeks. That's true. So yes, I think she does. Absolutely. Yeah, it's really tough. Yes. Okay. All right. Let me, guys, I want to say thank you for tonight. It's been a couple hours. I want to wrap this up. As always, please like, comment, share. It does matter so much. I can't tell you how much it does. It lets people know that we're still rocking and rolling. Always, please, if you can sponsor, patreon.com/Sharpe Way. Whatever you can give, if you're getting some of them Biden bucks or Trump bucks or stolen bucks, whatever you're getting, if you can throw some my way, please do so. Every little bit counts. You heard someone else who's trying to get a job on my team. I can't pay her if you guys will throw a couple bucks my way so I can give her a couple bucks for her time and her energy to answer those emails that you guys put out there, to be able to move this stuff, to edit the new videos you're seeing, and to spread the word on MeWe and on all the other places that I'm on, Twitch and all those places. That takes time, money, and energy. So, guys, if you can support, please do so. $10 a month is fine. It's great. If you get $5 a month, it's fine. A bunch of us do it, and all of a sudden now we can start making some cash so we can move this thing forward. My goal is to make this the go-to place for people who want to have real libertarian conversations, not arguments. Guys, thank you so much. I will see you all tomorrow.